good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unlock Show. My name is Tracy Wilson, and I'm going to be your host for the next 30 minutes or so. We might even go a little bit longer today because I have a very special guest with me, Mr. Michael Griffiths. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, Trace, absolute pleasure. I'm really excited to be with you.
Awesome. Well, look, today, guys, if you are somebody who is interested in building $1 million referral system, that you are someone who wants to get referrals on a regular basis, like 10 to 15 referrals a week, without having to pay a single cent on advertising or marketing, then today's show is absolutely for you. So please hang around and listen to what Michael's got to say, because over the last 8 years, Michael's actually become the #1 authority on referral marketing and training for service providers right around the globe. He was just telling me before we jumped on the show that he would have been in America so many times already this year, but due to our current situation, he's not been able to. And he's about to start a brand new intensive session with a number of his clients, about 170 of them, in fact, all over the world. So Michael's no-frills approach to business actually allows people to focus on what it is that they need to do to take action on right now that actually guarantees or almost guarantees them to get results. So welcome. Awesome to have you here. Let's get stuck in, because I know referral marketing, like when I first started out as a consultant, this was the one thing that I did to get me off the ground, was like use my existing referral networks to help me get going. So tell us a little bit firstly about your entrepreneurial journey. Like, what's your background? What's your backstory? And how did you get into doing what you're doing right now?
Yeah, lovely. So sort of go short 20-year version. Teacher by trade, so primary school teacher, and was a primary school teacher because that allowed me to be an elite level basketball coach. So coaching basketball pretty much from the age of 10, played at sort of the representative state, national league level, 3 knee reconstructions, and that was the end of playing. So coaching was pretty much what I thought was it. Been lucky enough to coach at assistant coach at 2 Olympic Games, been collegiate level over the US, coach at one of the biggest schools in University of North Carolina as an assistant coach, and been state level coach here in Australia and WNBL level. So that's what I thought my life would be. And I remember 2008, 2009, and we were over and sitting at our table in the University of North Carolina sort of campus, and had just been offered the head coaching spot at the University of Hawaii. And pretty much within hours, also, my wife's mum had come down with cancer and being the only family. It was like, do we go to University of Hawaii or do we come back to Australia and do what we're supposed to do? So obviously back we came to Australia, and all things have worked out and they're absolutely fine. But that's where I went back and went back to teaching and just went, you know what? I'm tired of the lazy teachers. Give me my 30 kids, leave me alone, and we're great. Tell me to turn up to staff meetings so you can hear your own voice, and we've got a problem. So that's where life changed, and we went in a different direction. And as any teacher would do, what's your first business? A tutoring centre. So providing tutors to people's homes. And yeah, within 4 months, we had built that up to sort of 480 families, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne on the East Coast, and 180 tutors. And along came a bigger fish and said, hey, we want that. And bought it from us, and away we went on to the next one. And that's pretty much been the pattern. So this is actually the 7th business, sold 6 in the last decade. And really, by the time we got to sort of mid-2013, when I sort of sold the 6th business and went straight into this, it was like, we've got to show people how to use their networks more effectively, how to be able to create referral sources, really how to be able to grow their business without having to spend a cent on paid marketing, because that's all we had ever done. We'd never needed to spend on paid marketing, and we'd pretty much grown business like a health product to 110,000 customers in 4 months, a mineral makeup cosmetic product that had 80,000 customers within 2.5 months. So it's just like, it doesn't have to take long. You've just got to understand, how do you leverage, how do you create partnerships, how do you collaborate with others, how do you create opportunities where most people don't have the right way of thinking or even know that it's possible to be able to do those sorts of things. So, yeah, for the last 7 years, we've been showing people exactly how to be able to grow a business through referrals, through their networks, through partnerships, without having to pay a cent on paid marketing. And it just excites me. It excites me that really doesn't matter if you started yesterday or you've been going for 10 years. Having a marketing budget does not influence whether you can grow your business or not.
And that's fantastic. What a great story. I mean, obviously referrals, even in the basketball world, how important are they? Like growing your networks, using, the networks that you have to get you a foot in the door and get introduced to the people that you need to be introduced to. So even though it seems like, wow, this seems like a radical change from being a teacher or basketball coach to now teaching people how to create referral networks, it's actually not. There's a real synergy with everything that you've done and taken that skill set that you had in that basketball and coaching world and are now applying that into business. What are some of the things that, that often the mistakes that people make with setting up their referral systems?
Yeah, I think the first big one is, well, in fact, it always comes down to thinking. We can give whatever process, whatever structure, whatever system. Unfortunately, our 2 million-year-old brain that was created to protect us from the saber-toothed tigers will get in the way and stop us from actually just taking small little actions. Because, hey, what happens if they don't like us? What happens if they don't want to be our referral partner? What happens if, and the brain continues. And it's just like, get yourself out of the way, because we are so emotionally invested in the outcome that quite often it stops us from actually doing anything. So therefore, we never find out whether it's going to work or not work, simply because we've already attached so many meanings to, well, what happens if situations. So to me, it really comes down to removing the emotional outcome, removing the meaning of what has ever happened in the past, and just going, hey, I'm actually curious to find out whether we can help one another and do things together, and having the mindset of how do we create win-wins, not how do I win and you lose, or how do I lose and you win, and sometimes they're going to work out and sometimes they're not, and sometimes there's a good fit and sometimes there's not, and it's got no reflection on you whatsoever. It's just simply how life is. And I think once someone really be good around that, and being around an environment where they're always constantly improving the way they think around that, it makes a huge difference. So the biggest thing I hear all the time, well, why would they help me? I'm only a small person and they're a big person. And it's just like, well, it's got nothing to do with you being a small person and them being a big person. It's just simply got to do with, do they feel a connection with you, and do they feel that they actually want to help you because you want to help them? And in the end, we're all humans and we all have human core needs, and that drives still everything.
Absolutely. So what's really interesting about that is I was actually talking with somebody the other day, and she was saying I was building, I wanted to build these collaborations with people, exactly this. And she said, and I approached them and have said, look, I'm going to send you some opportunities. I've got some referrals that I can send your way. And how can we reciprocate? And she said she went on over time and she was sending referral after referral after referral and getting absolutely nothing back in return, and feeling really, I suppose, deflated and a bit let down by that. How can you, what should you do first up to set up these referral partnerships, and then how do you maintain them so that they do become a win-win situation?
Yeah, perfect. So I suppose the first thing we've got to understand is everyone has a driver, and their driver is not necessarily the same driver as yours. So to begin with, we've got to understand that just because you want referrals from them, that's your driver. They might not want referrals back from you. That might not be their driver. Their driver might be financial. Their driver might be to look good. Their driver might be simply to add more value to their people. But until you actually understand what their driver is, it's pretty much like you are assuming or running with something that you believe is correct, where it might actually not be correct. So that's the first thing we've got to get right. We've got to understand what their driver is. To me, there's sort of 4 things. We've got to go, first step, identify who are people who sell to the same people you sell to and you don't compete with one another. So a lot of people go, well, get referrals from your clients. That's great, but I see that as the cherry on top. Like if you don't have many clients, you're obviously not going to get very many referrals then. If you've got no clients, well, that's a bit hard to get referrals from your clients then. A lot of people actually don't like asking their clients. They feel awkward in having that conversation with people. So I go, that's fine. Let's not even worry about your clients at the moment. Let's find outside referral sources, people who sell to the same people you sell to and you don't compete with one another. Perfect. There are thousands of them all around the place. So the first thing we're going to do is identify who they are and start making a list of the types of businesses, the types of industries of those people. Like I keep on my phone in notes, and I've got probably close to 70, 80 different types of industries that I'm just constantly, we could do stuff with them. We could do stuff over there. I've never even known that type of person exists. They've got our clients too. So that's the first thing. I think the easy way to think about it is, where else do your clients spend money? Who else do your clients spend money with? Because all of those people have the potential to obviously be a good referral source for you. Okay, so once we've identified the second part, and I said there's nothing rocket science around this. It's just simply about getting things done. And when you follow this process, you're going to end up with good partners, unlike where you feel like you're doing everything and they're doing nothing back in return. So the second part is obviously we've got to ask. When asking, a lot of people, I feel we don't ask simply because it's like we're trying to get married. Well, no, we're not. We're asking for the first date. Like we're asking simply just to go out for lunch or dinner type of thing. And when you put stepping stones in place, like it's no other relationship. I don't jump on and see Tracy for the first time and go, great, here's a person I'm going to spend the rest of my life 50 years together with. No. It's like, we're going to see, do you get along with that person? Do you click? Is there a fit? But you can't know any of that unless you simply ask. So our ask is as simple as, hey, we're looking for some new referral sources, some new referral partners where we might be able to pass referrals back and forth. Is that something you're interested in talking about? It's either yes, I am, or no, I'm not. But unless they actually give you a yes, there's no point continuing. Like that person is not going to do anything with you. So if I took your example of the person you were talking to, who went, I'm going to pass lots of referrals to that person, hoping that they might pass them back. Well, if you haven't had that first conversation of, I'm looking for, is this something you'd like to talk about and actually do and get a yes from them, there's no point because you're committed, but they are not committed. So once we identify, we've got to ask. Now, if they say yes, perfect. That doesn't mean you're referral partners. It just simply means now we can move on to step 3, which is, hey, let's have a conversation and let's see how we might actually be able to do things with each other. So in that conversation, it's just like, I'll just pretend it's with you, Trace, and I've identified, hey, Trace works with businesses. We work with businesses. There could be some good synergies here. Hey, I'm going to ask Trace. Trace, would you like to see whether we might be able to be referral partners and pass each other referrals? We seem to have the same sort of clients. We don't compete with each other. Is it worth something talking about? So Trace says, yeah, we'd love to. We go, perfect. Hey, how about we do this? Let's just find 10, 15 minutes and let's just jump on a Zoom call and have a chat and see how we might be able to help one another. Okay, so you can see there's little stepping stones along the way to actually realizing, is this person a good fit or not? And that's all we're trying to work out. Just because they sell to the same people you sell to, just because they look like they've got a good network, just because they're in business, they're not the qualifiers. Okay? That's just what should be happening anyway. So now we jump on and we have the conversation. And for me, I talk about, do they have 5 ticks? Now, you make up whatever your ticks are along the way. But for me, my 5 ticks are this. Do they have the same sort of mindset as what I have? Like someone who comes on and are very transactional, we're not going to get along. That's the furthest from what I am. And therefore, it's probably just going to become a chore and we're never going to do anything if something's a chore. So that's my first tick. Do we have the same mindset? Do we have the same values is actually my second tick.
Mm-hmm.
Third tick is then, do we have the same networks where we could actually pass each other business? So notice how that's not tick number one for me. Like it is for 99% of people, but to me, it can't be, because if someone doesn't resonate with you, if someone doesn't have the same values and mindset as you, it's going to fizzle out and die, whether it just be 1 month or 3 months. So to me, the way they think, there's got to be similarities there for this to actually work properly. So mindset was tick 1, values was tick 2. Do we have the same network? Tick 3. I then actually asked the question, do I actually want to help this person? Because if you don't want to help this person, there's no point doing anything. So as you're talking, you're actually working out, do I want to help this person? And then for me, my fifth one is, do I think this is going to be fun? Because if it ain't going to be fun, there's no point. So they're my 5 ticks. And if I can get in this conversation, and most of the time I can within 3-4 minutes know whether I've got my ticks or not. Okay, so we don't need 10-15. I reckon we can get on to the next stage eventually with good practice within 5 minutes of doing this. Really, the conversation is more me interviewing you without you knowing that I'm interviewing you. See, what most people do with referral partners is they go, we've sort of sold to the same people. Shall we see how we can help each other? The other person, yeah, that sounds good. So they catch up for coffee, 30 minutes to get there, 60 minutes to have a meeting. It's amazing how our body clock knows when 60 minutes is up. One person talks about their business for 30 minutes, then another person talks about their business for 30 minutes. Then they go away and they twiddle their thumbs, and then they go, well, actually, nothing's actually happening here. And it's like, yeah, well, no wonder. It's like this conversation, I am making sure you're a fit to be a partner of mine. That's what the conversation's about. I don't have to talk about my business. I already know my business. So to me, I'm just purely asking questions, and I am working out, do I want to go on to stage 4, step number 4, with you or not? So let's just say conversation's gone really well. We've got 5 ticks. So now in the conversation, I'm going to go, so Trace, do you know what? Here's what I'm thinking. How about we just do something like this? How about we find one way to help each other right now, and let's see how that goes. And then we can go from there. Because creating an action plan, which is step 4, straight away, that's going to tell you immediately. Do they follow through? Do they communicate well? Was it actually enjoyable? Is it something that you want to be doing with this person month after month after month after month? Was there actually some sort of result or not? See, instead we go, let's talk, great. Let's twiddle our thumbs. Let's hope that something falls on each other's laps and that therefore we pass each other business. And 5% of the time it does, and 95% of the time it doesn't. And then we go, well, that was a waste of time. Well, hold on. You didn't create an action plan to make something happen. So you're relying on hope and luck rather than actually having a clear strategy in place to know, is this a good person or not? Okay. So let's just go now that we get to step 4. We both do something to help one another. Therefore, we've been able to pick up a couple of good sort of warm qualified leads. They might turn into business. But we at least now know, hey, this is someone who's worth doing something with month after month after month after month. And you've started to actually lay a good foundation to know, hey, yeah, we should be referral partners because a lot of things are ticked off here. And you've already started in terms of enhancing the relationship, where a lot of the times if I look at the mistakes, it's like no plan, no structure, hoping that something actually takes place. And there's a lot of throwing mud at the wall, hoping that it sticks, rather than actually leading, influencing, and ensuring that the right outcome actually happens.
Absolutely. And, I see that often. It's interesting because, like I was saying, this was the one thing that I did when I first started my own business. And you talked about, and I actually went through a lot of this process. You talked about like going back to your networks and seeing who have you got in there that has the same type of clientele that you have, but doesn't necessarily, that you can collaborate with, that is synergy with you, but you don't overlap. And that was super important. And when I did that, like exactly what you're saying, that whole process absolutely works. That built me a multi 6-figure business in a really short space of time. So guys, what Michael's talking about, it absolutely does work if you follow the system and the process. So when a lot of people also want to know when you get to this point and you go, yep, hey, we've got a really nice synergy and there is some opportunity for us to collaborate and to, give referrals back and forth. They also want to know, should I be offering anything as far as commissions or referral payments or anything like that? What is your recommendation in that space?
Yeah, so there's never a one shoe fits all. It very much comes down to what the other person's driver is. Some people's driver is financial. So therefore, you've got to go simply, am I willing to do that in terms of being able to get a new client or a new sale? For some of you, the answer will be 100%. Yes, of course I would be. For others, it'll be no, I'm not willing to. There's no right or wrong around that. So some of our relationships are based on happy to give you money because that's now money I'm not going to spend on any other form of marketing, and therefore I'm absolutely fine with that because the lifetime value of that client's going to be worth an awful lot more to me. So it's really understanding your numbers, understanding what clients are worth to you, understanding what a client costs for you to be able to get. Like there's some key numbers you've got to really understand to then be able to make informed decisions on, is this something I want to go down the path of or not? Now, to me, just simply because it's not who I am, SOA is all about, it's about payment, it's about transaction, it's about we ain't going to get along. So I still come back to, do we have the same mindset and do we have the same values? And that's more important to me rather than basing a decision on, do they want commission or do they not want commission? Everyone's driver is different. You need to understand all your key numbers. And then without emotion, you just simply, is this a good business decision or not?
Absolutely. So, I mean, clearly the one thing that we need to understand right at the get-go is like your client avatar, like who is it that if you don't know who it is that you are selling to, it's going to be really difficult to try and go and find other people that sell to that same audience. So that would be, I'm saying, one of the things that you need to do is absolutely that. And inside of the Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life group, in the files section, there is a training on how to do this. So go back and find that. The client avatar is one. And the next point that Michael makes that is really good is like your client acquisition costs. So understanding what it actually costs you to onboard a client. What does it cost you to do that? And then you can determine whether or not you have sufficient, money in the coffers to be able to pay a referral partner if that is the type of association that you are setting up with them.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, there's no right or wrong. So I don't think they've all got to be like that or none of them are going to be like that. You can only ever do the same thing. No, every single thing is different and you do what is a smart business decision that's going to allow you to grow and get the outcomes that you're wanting.
And in terms of there's a lot of talk about this whole Dream 100, right? I don't know if you're familiar with that or you've heard of it. And that's obviously, when you're looking up to the people that, I would dream to have them in my referral list or on my, to have on my show or to have in my network that would be referring business to me. Sometimes, and again, I suppose it comes back to like overlaying those Dream 100 with, are those people, again, do they have the same mindset? Do they have the same values as you? And do they serve the same audience, but not overlapping with you? So combining the two of those together.
Yeah. Perception is a wonderful thing. And generally perception is perception. And there are a lot of people who look like they would be unbelievable people to have. And when you actually dig a little bit deeper, what? I don't care that you've got 30,000 people. You've got no engagement. They actually don't even like you. Therefore, I know exactly what the result will be, 0. So I tend to go, if you had, let's just go, you had 100 people who want to promote you and share you, and they might only have a network of 500. That usually is a lot more beneficial because they tend to have a closer, tight-knit relationship with their people. When they tell their people something, their people say, how high? But like, that tends to be a better situation than finding someone who might have 50,000 people and they'd be lucky if they even knew who any of them were, and all they have ever done is been a transaction to those people. Therefore, there is no relationship whatsoever, and therefore they're not great people to have as referral partners because they've got no influence with their people.
That is a fundamental point that you make right there, Michael, because I think a lot of people are looking for, let's go and look for influencers who have got massive lists. What you've just said there is paramount. Like if you can go to people that have got a much smaller list, like you say, that have got a much closer, intimate relationship with their client base, they are more likely to have a lot more influence with them than somebody who's got, say, a $50,000 people on their database and has like a 1% cut through. So, for a lot of people that are watching, sometimes going for those big fish can be a bit intimidating. So this also makes it really simple, simplifies it right down. So you don't have to go and find all the big fish. Often having a number of, smaller people that have got smaller databases, smaller knit communities are actually a better bet.
Yeah, 100%.
This just reminds me so much, like I've gone back to when I started out, but again, when I started out in this space, and I was telling you that I'd created like a multi-six-figure business, basically writing business plans for people who wanted to get finance or who were employing migrants into the country. So I was writing a lot of business plans for 457 visas, which is a visa that you need to have at the time to stay here in Australia. So I figured out really quickly that the people that I needed to go to were banks, lawyers, accountants, so on and so forth. And all of them became really strong referral partners for me. Now, none of them had massive, lists. They weren't international gurus online or anything like that. They had small local businesses, but really trusted advisors to their clientele. And when they referred a client to me, there was never any selling required because you got that transferred trust. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what happens with that whole referral process and why it's so beneficial to set up a referral partnership than it is necessarily to go out and do, some paid advertising.
Yep, good. So obviously there's credibility. If we think of the buyer's going, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to get it wrong. I've wasted money before. I definitely don't want to be doing that again. Will they solve my pain point? They're all the things that are going through a buyer's head. So when someone who they already know, like, and trust comes along and says, hey, I think I've actually got someone in my network, or there's someone here who can really help you because they can do X, Y, Z, then there becomes that transfer of credibility. And straight away, how that buyer feels to that person who's suggesting you is how they're going to feel about you. It's just how our human brain works in terms of transfer of credibility, and it also works from a negative side of things, which is why people are very cautious in terms of who they pass over and who they listen to, because if you're a dud and you pass someone over, and then the transfer of dudness occurs also. So it works either way. But people just simply, again, because of their 2 million-year-old brain, want to get it right. That it's one of the biggest factors every day in people making decisions is I want to make a good decision. And unfortunately, people are a little bit on the lazy side, and therefore if someone is going to help them make that good decision, and there's another aspect at play. It's quite funny. It's I suppose we use it around terms in terms of, say, within gambling, and it's Melbourne Cup Day, and you pick a horse, and it doesn't matter how good the horse is or how bad the horse is. As soon as you've picked it, you have to justify to yourself that is the horse that's likely to win for whatever reason. We do the same thing in terms of making buying decisions. We justify once we've sort of come to that decision. So if Tracy says, oh, you've got to go and use Michael for X, Y, Z, as soon as we put that in our mind that that's what we're going to do, we're going to then justify it. And Tracy said it's okay. And I really like Tracy and I really trust Tracy. And Tracy's already helped me with a whole bunch of other stuff. So Tracy must definitely know what's going on. Whether that's right or wrong, that's what goes in our brains internally. So therefore, that's what just naturally then comes out. So you go into that relationship at a completely higher level than what you possibly could have ever gone into it before. So there's a whole bunch. It's really quite fascinating in terms of just how our brain works and human behavior that makes all that happen. For a lot of people, we just don't. I think we've got to consciously spend more time actually thinking about, so what's this person going through right now? What are they thinking about? How are they going to make this decision? And when you start to actually consciously understand some of that, you're probably going to change the way that you do business and the way that your client experience is and the way that you ask for referrals and the way that you market and the way that you sell. You'll probably end up changing a lot of what you do by just simply taking a step back and going, okay, so what actually happens here and how do I facilitate that in the best way rather than being a negative force against it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and in your the other thing is that sometimes we look at sort of setting up this referral partnership as a bit icky, and I'm not comfortable in doing it. And sometimes what we have to remember is that the person on the other side, you might just be the referral partner that they are looking for. Like they may have been, often we're looking for ways that we can continue to serve and to help our customers and our clients. And the way in which we can do that is by suggesting other people that can actually help them, because more often than not, if you're working with somebody now, they will tell you that they're having a problem with something else or they need help with X, Y, Z. For example, I've had some clients recently come to me who needed some help with trademarking and patents, etc. Now, I have in my community and in my networks people who are specialists in that, which meant that I could very easily connect them with the experts that I trust to be able to help them. And my clients were super happy about that.
Yeah. So within that $1 million referral system, we talk about there's 9 key accelerators, 9 key projects. Accelerator number 6 is all around become a hub and build a following. So the fastest you can become a hub, no one ever forgets a hub. No one forgets the leader of the hub. They're the person who's inviting, who's connecting, who's promoting, who's announcing, just small little things that make others feel, and that's the key word, feel warm and fuzzy. Because when you're making other people feel warm and fuzzy, they're going to continue coming back to the place that makes them feel warm and fuzzy. So the sooner you can become a hub and do hub-like activities, the more you're going to be spoken about, the more you're going to be introduced, the more doors people are going to open to you, the more people are going to remember you. The simple fact is, just with how busy society is, hey, it takes about 45 days for you to be forgotten. Unless you are staying front of mind and unless you are doing hub-like activities where you're making people in your networks feel warm, fuzzy, and good. And if you're doing that, then, you're so far down the track.
Absolutely. And, being able to be somebody who is a connector. So putting yourself into a position where you do, using this process of having those networks and referral partners means that you will get to be seen as somebody who knows people. And often people will say to me, well, I don't know how to do something, but I know somebody who does. And they'll come to me and they'll say, Trace, do you know anybody who can do blah, blah, blah? Even if it's not sort of in my core business, they know that I will most likely know somebody that knows how to do what it is that they're wanting to do.
Yeah.
So,
correct.
Yeah. And staying top of mind is really important. So let's talk about that. Like one of the things that I suppose another thing that people get hung up on is how often should I be in contact with these referral partners so that I'm not being a nuisance or I'm being a pain by ringing them and contacting them all the time. What is the most appropriate sort of time frame and how should you go about doing that?
Yeah, so we sort of talk about, hey, have a little front of mind plan. spend 10 minutes, 2, 3, 4 times a week. But the whole purpose of your front of mind plan is exactly that, to just stay front of mind of your network. So you can do things such as, hey, like, comment, share on other people's social things. Invite people to things that you're going to. Whether they can come or not, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's the act of inviting that is the important thing. Connect one person in your network with one other person in your network where they've probably never come across each other ever before. Promote things that you've got, people in your network have got coming up. Announce things. Hey, do simple little things like horn toot. So tell your networks, hey, I just met so-and-so who's absolutely amazing at XYZ. It's really worth going and checking them out. Like, when you think how easy it is to make someone feel great, and that's what our intention should be. Because when you do that, that person's always going to take then the opportunity to talk about you. And the more people you have talking about you, we actually use this as a bit of a meter, as the meter. If I said to you right now, let's just go between, we're 10 and 11 a.m. right here. How many people are talking about you right now? What do you reckon it would be? 5 people, 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people? That number, obviously, we want to constantly have going up. Mm-hmm. Well, the number of people who are talking about you is always in direct correlation to how front of mind are you of your network, and how many people have you made feel great in the last 7 days. And I think when you put those things together, then it's really easy. Like, I know we'd have thousands of people right now. We're, let's say, 10:30 here, so we're like 5:30 p.m. LA time. We're 8:30 p.m. East Coast US time. Sure, we're middle of the night UK time, so hopefully they're all asleep. But we know that we're going to have lots of people who are going to probably be going, oh, well, in fact, referrals, you need to speak to Michael. Oh, have you seen Michael's group? Oh, have you seen this particular train? Oh, you need someone on your show to be able to do XYZ. That's what happens when you have a systematic front of mind plan and you spend 10 minutes 3 times a week doing small activities that constantly keeps you front of mind of your network.
And I love that that you were saying, it's like the old saying, right? It's not about what you say or what you do, but it's about how you make people feel that they remember. And this is exactly what you're talking about. So it's when it's often a complete mindset shift for a lot of people. It's thinking about, okay, well, how do I want people to feel when they actually engage with me, when they speak with me, when they, are on a show right now? How do I want them to feel about that? And then the way in which they feel when they walk away will leave an impression and an imprint in their hearts and their minds. And then you stay in constant contact with them with your front of mind strategies. And that way you won't be forgotten. Really interesting that you say that, like, after 45 days. So this is something for everybody to think about, is how are you staying top of mind? How do you keep in front of your audience and not go stale after 45 days and have to kind of resurrect yourself and try and get yourself back to the top of their mind again? How do you do that constantly?
And the key thing there is making sure that you're doing it in what we say, a non-douchebag way. Like, if your whole purpose of doing this is to be transactional, you've missed the whole point. Please don't bother, because all you're going to do is shoot yourself in the foot and make things actually worse. You've actually got to show your networks that you care. You've got to engage with your networks on a personal level. That's when your networks will create opportunities for you. If you think that sending out a boring newsletter each week, each 30 days, which talks about you, is actually engaging with your network, you've missed the whole point. Like, don't do it. So, again, the way you are will determine how well your networks talk about you. Like, the person who sends me each week, and it comes out on a Wednesday morning, my time, and it's the same boring stuff week in, week out. Hey, I'm not talking anything positive about them. And eventually I just go, get lost. Right? So your name can be both in positive terms and in negative terms to a particular person. And obviously, if you're constantly transactional and every time someone sees your name, before they even look at anything, they just go, oh, they're selling to me again. Oh, they're going to pitch to me again. Whether you are or not, that's what you have created by constantly doing the same habits over and over and over again. So to do front of mind and to actually really engage and use your networks correctly, it's about making sure, hey, I care for all our networks. Whether they're a client, whether they can do a program or not, is irrelevant. It's bigger than that. It's about how can you make an impact and help somebody, which then has that ripple effect through society. That needs to be your thinking so that you actually generally care about the people who are in your network. And I think if you come from that position, you're going to speed up of how quickly someone else wants to do something to help you.
Absolutely. It's about being authentic and actually having, like you're saying, being really caring about the people, not just saying that you do, but actually caring, and not being worried about whether or not there's going to be a payment at the end of that conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, look, we are about to wrap up. So I just wanted to know, is there anything else that you think we should be doing as far as like creating our referral networks and also how to get in touch with you? And I think I might even have a little banner here that has your details on it. So if you want to get hold of Michael, I believe you can head on over here and you can go to Michael's Facebook page and make sure that you connect with him. But I know you've also got a couple of Facebook groups. So tell us about those.
Yeah, I think probably the best thing is if we just haven't had to be able to delve into the 9 key accelerators is grab the 9 key accelerator plan and how to actually use any of those accelerators. So if you simply just went to michaelgriffiths.com.au/plan, then, hey, grab that. It's like 13 pages. It takes no more than about 7 minutes to read. Some nice little diagrams and very step-by-step on things you can do. Now, you don't need to be using all 9 accelerators to be getting consistent 10, 15 warm qualified leads coming into your business every single week. You could just pick one and you could just become really good at one of them. Okay? But that would be a great place to be able to go. So that was just michaelgriffiths.com.au/plan. Yes, Facebook group's probably the next best place to go. So that's you can just go to michaelgriffiths.com.au/Facebook if you didn't want to go to facebook.com/groups/Michael Griffiths. So that's the long version. So just michaelgriffiths.com.au/ and then you can either go plan, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, podcast, whatever you want to put at the end of michaelgriffiths.com.au, you will find us. So whatever is someone's favorite, love for your handout. Please ask questions. We're really big on just being able to help people grow businesses, not have to spend a cent on paid marketing. And really, it's not difficult to do no matter what type of business that you have. It's just around getting a couple of simple little structures and processes in place.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Michael. It's been a pleasure having you here. Hey guys, if you're listening on the podcast right now, then I'll also make sure that I put all of the links that we're talking about on the show today will be in the description section, also in YouTube. And if you're inside of the Success Secrets for Family, Business and Life group on Facebook, then we'll also make sure that there is a link there to Michael's page so that you can get that document that Michael is talking about with those 9 accelerators on it, because I'm sure that you're going to find those are really, really beneficial for your business and implementing a lot of those right now, particularly in this current environment where you're not able to get out and about. You know, the things that Michael's spoken about today are really simple. Being able to just stop for a moment, think about what it is that you're wanting in your business, thinking about your mindset, your values, and then being able to align those with others is obviously the step number 1. And then putting into place all of those 9 accelerators to help you really start to generate those 10 to 15 referrals in your business each and every week. And like we said, if you want to hear more about Michael, head on over to his pages and check him out, because he's a super friendly guy and will always, be there to help you guys if you need to. So I'm inside of a couple of his groups, and he definitely does, walk what he and talk what he preaches. He makes sure that he does all of that stuff. So thanks so much for joining me today, Michael. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know I've been following you for some time and seeing the awesome stuff that you've been doing, and I've loved having you on the show, and I hope we can have you back again sometime soon.
Absolute pleasure, Trace. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me, Tracy Wilson, on The Unlock Show. And I'll be back again this Friday at 10 a.m. for another impactful show and help you live your life unlocked. And like I said, if you want to join us inside of the Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life, come on over into Facebook and let's do that. See you guys soon. Bye.